Tyler was so deep into cocaine that he could not remember his own lyrics on stage. Bon Scott drank himself to death in the back of a car. John Frusciante quit the Chili Peppers and disappeared into heroin addiction for 7 years. These are not cautionary tales. These are the stories behind the biggest bands in rock history. And somehow, against every odd, a single song pulled each of them back from the edge. Today we are counting down 10 rock songs that saved the bands that made them.
Psychic spies from China try to steal your mind's elation.
By the late 90s, the Red Hot Chili Peppers were in serious trouble. Guitarist John Frusciante had left the band in 1992, struggling with addiction and walking away from everything they had built together. His replacement, Dave Navarro from Jane's Addiction, was a talented musician but a rough fit for the band's chemistry. Their 1995 album One Hot Minute sold decently but felt disjointed. Critics were lukewarm. Fans were confused. Then came the phone call that changed everything. Frusciante had gotten sober and wanted back in. The band reconvened and started writing what would become their redemption. Californication was the title track from their 1999 comeback album. It was introspective, melodic, and miles away from the funk metal chaos of their earlier work. The song reflected on Hollywood excess and the hollowness of fame, themes that hit close to home for a band that had nearly lost everything to those very temptations. The album sold 15 million copies worldwide and launched the Chili Peppers into a new era of stadium-filling success. They went from being a band that might have been remembered as a 90s curiosity to one of the biggest rock acts of the 21st century. Radiohead never planned to release this song. When the band was recording their debut album Pablo Honey in 1992, their producers Sean Slade and Paul Colderi kept hearing them play a track during breaks that they had written off as throwaway material. The band called it their Scott Walker song, a moody ballad about obsessive attraction and self-loathing. Producers convinced them to record it anyway. The song almost died on arrival. When Creep was released as a single, BBC Radio 1 refused to play it, calling it too depressing. It peaked at number 78 in the UK, selling a mere 6,000 copies. Then something strange happened. A DJ in Israel named Yoav Kutner started playing Creep in heavy rotation. The song spread to New Zealand, Spain, Scandinavia. An import copy reached San Francisco's alternative radio station Live 105, and suddenly American teenagers were connecting with Tom York's anguished confession of inadequacy. REM had been building a devoted following throughout the 1980s. They were darlings of college radio, critics' favorites, the kind of band that sold respectable numbers without ever threatening the mainstream. 7 albums in, they were still waiting for their breakthrough. Their record label was skeptical when the band wanted to release Losing My Religion as the lead single from Out of Time. The song was built around a mandolin riff, hardly the stuff of top 40 radio. It had no traditional chorus. It was weird by any commercial standard. The band pushed back. They believed in the song. They were right. Losing My Religion became REM's biggest American hit, reaching number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100. The haunting music video, with its surreal imagery inspired by Gabriel Garcia Marquez and Andrei Tarkovsky, became an MTV staple. The song won 2 Grammy Awards. More importantly, it transformed REM from cult heroes into genuine rock stars. Out of Time sold 18 million copies worldwide. The band that had spent a decade on the fringes was suddenly everywhere. Do you remember the first time you heard that mandolin riff and knew you were listening to something different?
Do you feel the same?
1990 was supposed to be the beginning of a new chapter for U2. After the massive success of the Joshua Tree and the mixed reception of Rattle and Hum, the band had retreated to Berlin to reinvent themselves. They wanted to shed the earnest arena rock sound that had made them famous and embrace something darker, more experimental. The sessions at Hansa Studios were a disaster. Bono and The Edge wanted to incorporate electronic beats and industrial textures into their music. Bassist Adam Clayton and drummer Larry Mullen Jr. were resistant. The band argued constantly about their musical direction. Weeks of recording produced almost nothing usable. Tensions escalated to the point where members were privately discussing whether U2 had run its course. Then, during one improvisation session, The Edge stumbled onto a chord progression that made everyone stop. The band locked in.
You act like you never had love.
Bono started writing lyrics about fractured relationships and the difficulty of staying together through conflict. The song was called One. The Edge later called it a pivotal moment, the first breakthrough in what had been an extremely difficult set of sessions. One gave the band renewed confidence and a creative direction that would define Achtung Baby and the entire next decade of their career. Before Pearl Jam existed, there was Mother Love Bone. Guitarist Stone Gossard and bassist Jeff Ament were building something special in Seattle's emerging grunge scene when tragedy struck in 1990. Their charismatic frontman Andrew Wood died of a heroin overdose just days before their debut album was set to launch. The surviving members were devastated. They had lost their friend, their band, and their dreams all at once. For months, they struggled to find the will to continue making music. Gossard eventually started writing again, recording instrumental demos in his bedroom. One of them was originally called $, Short, a melancholic piece that captured the grief he was processing. The demo made its way to a young surfer in San Diego named Eddie Vedder, who wrote lyrics about a young man discovering his father was not his biological parent, a story drawn from Vedder's own life. The song became Alive. Pearl Jam formed around that track, and two others Vedder wrote that same night. Alive became the first single from their debut album, 10, and established Pearl Jam as leaders of the grunge movement alongside Nirvana. The song that emerged from tragedy gave birth to one of the most successful rock bands of the 1990s. By 1985, Aerosmith was finished. The band that had dominated the 70s with classics like Dream On and Sweet Emotion had fallen apart. Joe Perry and Brad Whitford had both quit at various points. Drug addiction had ravaged the remaining members. Their comeback album, Done with Mirrors, flopped spectacularly, selling a fraction of what their earlier records had moved. Steven Tyler and Joe Perry were washed up. Has-beens from a different era. Everyone knew it except a young hip-hop producer named Rick Rubin. Rubin was working with Run DMC on their third album and had a wild idea. He wanted the rap group to cover Aerosmith's 1975 hit Walk This Way, but with Tyler and Perry actually appearing on the track. Everyone thought he was crazy. Run DMC had never even heard of Aerosmith. They called the original lyrics hillbilly gibberish. On March 9th, 1986, Tyler and Perry showed up at a New York studio to record their parts. Getting paid $8,000 for the day. The collaboration almost fell apart multiple times. It ended up becoming one of the most important songs in music history. Walk This Way hit number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100, higher than the original had ever charted. The video, which showed both groups literally breaking down the wall between rock and hip-hop, went into heavy rotation on MTV. Run DMC broke into the mainstream, and Aerosmith got a second chance. Within a year, the band members had checked into rehab, gotten clean, and started recording Permanent Vacation. They went from has-beens to the biggest rock band of the late 80s. Kurt Cobain was trying to rip off the Pixies. That was his stated goal when he wrote Smells Like Teen Spirit in early 1991. He wanted to capture their loud, quiet, loud dynamic and wrap it around the ultimate pop song. He never expected it to become anything more than another track on their upcoming album. Neither did anyone else. When Nirvana sent demos to their new label DGC Records, the executives thought Come As You Are would be the hit. Smells Like Teen Spirit was intended to be a bass-building alternative rock cut, something to establish credibility before the real single dropped. They were wrong. The song took off like nothing the alternative rock world had ever seen. The music video, filmed in a high school gymnasium with cheerleaders wearing anarchy symbols and teenagers moshing in the bleachers, became the most requested video on MTV. Nevermind knocked Michael Jackson's Dangerous off the top of the charts in January 1992. Overnight, Nirvana went from underground favorites to the biggest band in the world. Grunge music became mainstream. The entire landscape of popular music shifted. Cobain never made peace with the song's success. He grew to hate performing it, sometimes refusing to play it at concerts or deliberately sabotaging performances. But Smells Like Teen Spirit defined a generation and proved that alternative rock could conquer the mainstream. Carlos Santana was a legend who had become a footnote. The guitarist had been a defining voice of late 60s and early 70s rock, fusing Latin rhythms with psychedelic guitar in ways that had never been heard before. Woodstock, Abraxas, Black Magic Woman. He had built a legacy that should have lasted forever. By the late 90s, he had not had a hit in over 2 decades. His records sold modestly to aging fans. The rock world had moved on without him. Then came Supernatural. Clive Davis, the legendary record executive, convinced Santana to collaborate with contemporary artists on a new album. The centerpiece was Smooth, a sensual Latin rock track featuring vocals from Rob Thomas of Matchbox 20. The song was written specifically for Santana's guitar style, giving him space to play those signature sustained notes over a hypnotic groove. Smooth spent 12 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. The longest run for any song that year. Supernatural won 9 Grammy Awards, including Album of the Year and Record of the Year. Carlos Santana, at 62 years old, had the biggest hit of his entire career. The comeback was so unexpected, so complete, that it redefined what was possible for legacy artists in the modern music industry. On February 19, 1980, AC/DC's world collapsed. Bon Scott, the charismatic frontman who had been the voice and soul of the band for 6 years, was found dead in a car in London. He was 33 years old. The official cause was acute alcohol poisoning. The surviving members were devastated. Angus Young later said they had lost more than a friend. They had lost a person they bonded with in life. For weeks, the band did not know if they would continue. They considered disbanding entirely. It was Bon Scott's father who gave them the push they needed. At the funeral, he told the Young brothers that Bon would have wanted them to carry on. He gave them his blessing to find a new singer and keep making music. 6 weeks after Bon's death, AC/DC announced Brian Johnson as their new frontman. Johnson was a singer from a British band called Geordie, someone Bon himself had praised years earlier after seeing him perform. The album they made together was called Back in Black. The title track became an anthem of resilience, a declaration that the band refused to stay down. The all-black album cover was a memorial to their fallen brother. Back in Black became the second best-selling album in history, behind only Michael Jackson's Thriller. It sold over 50 million copies worldwide and proved that AC/DC could survive the unthinkable. That opening guitar riff, those tolling bells, Brian Johnson's raw scream, the song was not just a comeback, it was a resurrection. By 1986, Bon Jovi was standing on the edge. Their first 2 albums had produced moderate hits, but nothing that suggested superstardom. The band was still playing opening slots for larger acts, still fighting for radio play, still trying to prove they belonged in the same conversation as the rock giants of the era. John Bon Jovi and guitarist Richie Sambora sat down to write what they hoped would be their breakthrough. They created a song about Tommy and Gina, a working-class couple struggling to survive tough times. When the band first played Livin' on a Prayer for their manager, they hated it. They thought the talk box was too gimmicky, too strange for mainstream radio. They wanted to leave it off the album. Their manager convinced them to give the song another chance. They stripped back some of the production, tightened the arrangement, and recorded a new version. The song spent 4 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. The album Slippery When Wet sold 28 million copies worldwide.
It doesn't make a difference if we make it all.
Bon Jovi went from mid-level rock band to one of the biggest acts on the planet. More than that, Livin' on a Prayer became something larger than the band itself. It became an anthem for anyone facing impossible odds. To this day, you cannot play those opening notes in a stadium without tens of thousands of people singing along. Rock and roll is full of moments where everything could have ended. The tragedy, the addiction, the creative collapse, the label ready to drop you, the fans moving on. These 10 songs were the difference between legendary careers and forgotten footnotes. They arrived at exactly the right moment, said exactly the right thing, and reminded the world why these bands mattered. Which of these comeback stories hits you the hardest? Drop your answer in the comments.